Hello, my name is Mike McMaster. I work at the Wood County Museum. The Wood County Museum was the old county home, and today we're going to talk about old Wood County history. We are going to talk about the surveyor of the Great Black Swamp, or as I'd like to say, what didn't Hiram Davis do? Now, Hiram Davis was born in New York in 1808. He married Elmina Yates in 1839 in Perrysburg and died in 1869 in Perrysburg. Below is a picture of the wedding certificate of Hiram Davis and Amina Yates done at Wood County. Now, Hiram Davis was elected county surveyor in 1835, in 1841, and again in 1844. The Beers book, the historical and biographical record of Wood County, also says that Hiram Davis was counted as one of the first 100 men of Perrysburg in 1839. He was elected Perrysburg Township trustee in 1840, 1845, and 1847, and then also worked as township clerk. He was a tax assessor in 1844 and elected school examiner in 1847. Now, when 1835, when Hiram Davis was county surveyor, difficulties began to arise about the boundaries of lots and streets in the city of Perrysburg, and the commissioners authorized a new survey of the town, which was accomplished by Hiram Davis. In 1835, he was ordered by the county commissioners to take the U.S. field notes for the Western Reserve at the foot of the rapids and also the Western Reserve Road surveys of Wood County. Now, I've always wondered why he was ordered to look at these old surveys. What was going on in Wood County in 1835? But this. Lucas County was cut from Wood County at that time on June 20th, 1835. And my guess is the county commissioners wanted to make sure with those old surveys that Lucas County was not getting any part of Wood County that they were not entitled to. Now, Hiram Davis did a lot of things in Wood County. One of the first things he did in 1839 was surveyed the Gibson and Duncan prairies, or the Gibson Prairie. Now, the Gibson Prairie shows up in the 1858 map there, and between Milton and Jackson townships. Otsego Pike or State Route 235 would be the eastern border of this great prairie. And on the prairie were trees, oak trees and shagbark hickory and the like on the prairie. Some of the prairie would have been inundated. There is a marsh just south of this prairie. He also surveyed the Wadsworth Prairie for the millionaire land speculator in New York, W. Wadsworth. It was an astounding 2,400 acres, and that is Hiram Davis surveyor of Wood County. Now, the Wadsworth Prairie sat in Liberty Township, and Hiram Davis ran his survey from tree to tree upon the prairie, maples and elms, red oaks, walnuts, bur oaks, black oaks, white ash, and poles set upon the prairie. Now, the Wadsworth Prairie today is Otsego Park, or the Otsego Pike would have been the western edge, and the roads of Greensburg, Mermill Road, Defiance Pike or 281, and Bays Road would cut today across this prairie. There is an interesting description of the Wadsworth Prairie. And the description states that the Wadsworth Prairie was inundated with water from 1 to 3 feet deep, and grass, prairie grass, 2 to 8 feet high. A great part was swampy, and it was infested with wolves and snakes and endless swarms of ravenous mosquitoes. Heavy fogs which curtained this gloomy wilderness, so dismal and forbidding that the strongest man might well recoil from its treacherous borders. Yet Hiram Davis was out there running chains from tree to tree for over 2,000 acres. Now, Hiram Davis shows up in a lot of my programs. And the first place he shows up is in the ghost town of Marengo, which was surveyed by Hiram Davis in 1836. That is part of the river survey, showing the ports of Maumee and Perrysburg. Maumee City and Perrysburg were the port of western Lake Erie. But as ships got bigger, they could not cross the rock bar, which is in between Ewing Island and Perrysburg. Ships like this, the Northern Indiana, could not cross that bar. There was a race to become the next deep water port of Lake Erie, and towns like Marengo were started. Now, that is a copy of the Articles of Association of the Marengo Company of 1836 at the archive at the University of Bowling Green. This town would have been surveyed by Hiram Davis, and lots would have been sold. But unfortunately, Marengo became just another ghost town in the race to become the deep water port of Lake Erie. And the deep water port of Lake Erie today is Toledo. Now, Marengo would have been in the river tracks of 17 and 18 in Lucas County, and river tracks 70 and 71 of Wood County. All that's left of the ghost town of Marengo is that island right there. Marengo Island still bears the name. Now, in the ghost story of Woodbury House, the oldest written down ghost story of Wood County, the ghost town of Woodbury sat at the corners of Portage Township, Bloom Township, Henry Township, and Liberty Township, right in the middle on Hull's Trace, which is today State Route 25. Nothing is there of Woodbury today. That is the original survey done by Hiram Davis, surveyor of Wood County in 1837. And it's interesting to note that Hiram Davis surveyed this town around a public square where Main Street, Hall's Trace, intersected with Market Street. Another ghost town of Wood County that Hiram Davis surveyed in 1835 was Miltonville. Miltonville is where the rope ferry crossed the Maumee River, and as you can see at the bottom, Hiram Davis surveyed a public square in Miltonville. Nothing is there of Miltonville anymore. Now, the ghost town of Digby Road was surveyed by Hiram Davis, although it was called the County Road 58 from John Dubbs to the state route, which would have been Hull's Trace. And as you can see in his Hiram Davis's survey notes, he runs chains across the Liberty Prairie from a hickory tree. Now, Hiram Davis surveyed that the road, being a total distance of 8 miles, 62 and 15/100 chain, certified the foregoing notes to be true return January 16, 1838, Hiram Davis. The road stretched from John Dubbs Section 1 of Jackson Township across the Liberty Prairie to just south of Portage, which is today State Route 25. Now, all that's left of this road surveyed across the prairie sat there, and it's Digby Road today in Liberty Township. Now, Hiram Davis goes on to survey Spink Sedition in Gilead or Grand Rapids today. He surveys the town of Freeport in 1836, which is Wayne. He surveys Millgrove in 1836, and he surveys Milton Center late in his life in 1857. Now, of all the things that Hiram Davis did, in 1839, the commissioners paid $30 to Hiram Davis to draw out a map of Wood County. Unfortunately, that map has been lost to history. It would have showed the early pioneer towns and the early pioneer roads, but unfortunately, it is not with us today. Hiram Davis is buried at Fort Meigs Cemetery in the corner right on State Route 25 today. I hope you enjoyed this program. I have recorded many history programs for the Wood County Committee on the Aging, and I will continue to record many more. Thank you.